We are live. What's up, guys? My name's David Rubalcava. I just kind of wanted to share a little bit about who I am and my journey in filmmaking and how I even started in YouTube. I just kind of want to start off with a little bit of background. So I want you guys to know that I did a few years ago have another channel, which is TRN's Cobra Kai theories. I'll leave a link in there if you guys want to check it out. But that was kind of where I started in YouTube about, oh my God, 6 years ago. So I did it for a few years and I decided that I wanted to go into filmmaking. And so let me give you a little bit of history of just my career. So I was actually in retail management for almost 20 years. So I was a store manager for PetSmart for 5 years. I worked for Target. I worked for Sears. I was an operational manager at a dental. So I did a lot of different stuff. But at the core of my journey, like I knew it was something I didn't have passion for. Maybe I was good at it, but I didn't have passion for it. And I had always wanted to go to film school. I had always wanted to be some type, somehow in films. And I just, life kind of got in the way. And I don't want to say it got in the way because I think the journey I went on is what led me to this journey now of film and photography and videography and shooting commercials, films, short films, different projects. But the reality is that I had a son, and when I had my son, my oldest son, Brian, things changed. And so I realized that I had to go be responsible and be a good dad and figure out how to take care of him. And that's kind of where my journey into retail kind of deepened. I was just a cashier going to school and eventually moved into management and eventually became, an assistant store manager and kind of grew into that role of just a leadership, operational type leader. But after 20 years, I felt like my soul was dying. I really felt like this unfulfilled potential was happening to me, and I became very, very self-aware of it. And when I hit 40 and I turned 40, I realized I have to chase my dream. I've spent most of my adult life doing what I thought was right, but wasn't following a passion. And that passion was to somehow get into the film industry. And so I quit my job. And 3 or 4 months later, COVID hit. And so I was just like, what the hell did I just do? I just quit a career that I've had for 20 years to get into the film industry, and then COVID hits, which just shuts down for at least an entire year. And kind of that's where I actually started doing Doordash. So I'm doing a lot of these probably live streams for the next 30 days in my car as I'm either not on set or if I'm door dashing. And I'm not ashamed to say I've door dashed for the last 4 years, was able to make enough money from that to take care of my family, buy new gear, buy equipment. When I'm not on set, I'm door dashing. Like, it just became the thing that gave me the flexibility to chase my dreams. So that's what I've been kind of doing. So over the last couple years, especially the last 3 years, my life really changed. And let me tell you this. I had no idea what I wanted to do on film. I just wanted to be around it. I just wanted to be around filmmakers. I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to see how things were shot, what type of cameras were used, how did they light the scenes, who decorates the scenes. Like, I had so many questions. I just wanted to be a part of it. And all of 2020, I was trying to get on sets. I was trying to get on different projects, and nobody would take me. Nobody would take me on because I had no experience. And we could talk about this a little bit deeper. If you guys leave comments below about it, I can share more specifically why that happened. And now I understand why. And I can give you more details about it, but it's tough to say, but it's the reality that making movies and Hollywood and all this is a very closed circle. And if you're not in the circle, you don't get jobs. And I will tell you, 80% of my jobs now come from people that I've worked with. And that's why I understand that you have to know people, but it's how they know you. And for me, it was working on projects that I didn't get paid, which I'll talk about that. My first movie, I didn't get paid. But the connections that I made and all those hard 17-hour days and doing whatever it took on set changed my life. It really changed my life. So that's what I'll go into detail more at some other point if that's what you guys want about how I broke in. But really, it was a year of me trying to get on films, and I eventually got onto one film, my very first film, and I didn't get paid for it. And just keep in mind, I went from making almost $100,000 to, in retail as a manager, store manager, to working on a film for 7 days and not making $1, and putting myself in my own hotel, which my ex-wife at the time was like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean you have to put yourself in a hotel? But for me, I knew it. I knew I just needed to get in the door. And if I got in the door, I would just show them what I've done my entire career, and that's work my ass off and do whatever it takes to help them win. And it was by reputation, right? And so my first film, which was called Area 5150, which still has not been released yet. They have completed it. It took over 3 years. The indie film. It took almost 3 years to complete it, and now it's in post-production right now, and it's slotted to be released in 2025. So this film, I will tell you, I started as a production assistant, which is a PA. You'll hear that a lot, a PA, production assistant. And basically what you are on film is whatever the heck they need you. They want coffee, they want table setups, they want things moved. It's basically grunt work. And every single person I've ever met started as a PA, because that's just the way it is. They don't care about your background. If you have no film background, like on-set background, that's where you start. And so I did that for about 5 hours on the first day. And then I will tell you this. Because of YouTube, I was comfortable with cameras. I was comfortable with at least shooting, green screen, and shooting a little bit and editing. So I was a little bit comfortable, not to that degree of a film, but I mean, I was comfortable around cameras. And I knew I was going to get on that camera crew. Like, I didn't give a damn. I don't know how I was going to do it, but I'm going to get on that camera crew. But anyways, I started talking to the director of photography. His name was Craig Bryant. He was one of the first director of photography, DP, that I worked with. I started asking him about the camera, and it was a Blackmagic 4K camera. And I was asking him questions, and he just looked at me. He's like, you know about cameras? And I said, I know a little bit. Like, I have my own, like, it was a Canon 90D, which shot in 4K, like nothing big. Had the stock lens on it, like nothing. Like, I didn't have anything at that time. And he said, you know what? I want you to be on our team. And then I started learning about cameras. And this was a project that went on for 7 days, 17-hour days. Oh, it was brutal, man. But I went from being a PA to helping Grip set up his lights and all that kind of stuff. Help move equipment, move the camera bags, charge batteries, like all these little things that I was learning about how to just even build a camera. And for, I don't know, the first 3 days, I think that's all I did was set up lights. He'd tell me what to do, set them up, put up the generators and stuff that we had, because we were like in the middle of nowhere in the desert. And so, like, whatever they needed me to do, that's what I just did. And gradually, I got closer and closer and closer to the camera, where I was actually with them while they were shooting, or spotting him as he's moving, so that he didn't walk into a wall. Or he'd get tired after a take and he'd hand me the camera and I'm like, what the hell, And so I got closer and closer into kind of that circle. And then I started slating, which is second AC, where you get the clapper, clap and all that. And one other thing that was happening by the second or third day is I actually brought my camera, my Canon 90D photography, and they already had a photographer, so I was told they don't need a photographer, but I was like, I'm gonna wait until there's like an opportunity for me to start shooting some of this stuff, because I found it so fascinating. Day one, director Sean Heights was like, no. Day two, we had an awesome scene and whatever, and I asked Sean, can I shoot? He's like, yeah, high-five me. And then I started learning photography. So I actually learned photography, which I'm probably more known for set photography on that film. And so one day I will share all of these little stories of things that happened on that set, but it really changed my life and it really opened the doors for me to get my foot in there. And it led to like the next 3 films that I worked on. It led to me doing my first photo shoot with George Lazenby, who was, he played James Bond in one of the movies back in, I think it was like the 60s or the 70s. So it like that one set opened and changed my life. And it was hard. I'm gonna tell you guys, I did some tough stuff in my career of working in retail. Nothing was as hard as working 17 hours out in the elements where it's like sunny and then freezing at night and then dust blowing in your mouth while you're eating and like, and I realized I loved it. I realized I loved it. So that was kind of like my step. But I have so many stories about when I knew that this is what I was supposed to do. You know what? I'm going to share you this one story before I go, and then we'll call it a day for this live stream. There was a moment where I realized I don't know if this is what I want to do. Like, this is much harder than I thought it was going to be. It was more physical than I thought it was going to be, lugging sandbags and gear. I just thought, I was like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. By day 3, we had already worked 17-hour days in a row. We were operating on maybe 5 hours of sleep. It was crazy. I remember falling asleep standing up, which is possible because it happened to me because we were so exhausted. And after like the 3rd day, I remember leaving set. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We had to be back out on set at like 8 in the morning. And I remember thinking, I'm going home tomorrow, man. I'm going home tomorrow. Like, I'm exhausted. You know, I'm not getting paid for this. I said, that's it. I'm done. I didn't tell anybody. I said, I'm just going to pack up my stuff and just bounce. And so, and I was sore. I was hurting. Like, I remember just dragging myself into the motel room, and I'm just sitting there, and all my body is hurting me and aching. And I could see dirt all over the floor that I tracked in because we were out in the desert in Morongo Valley. And I said, that's it. Tomorrow I'm packing up and I'm leaving. And I woke up the next morning, guys. I woke up the next morning and I got in the shower and I got dressed and I went back to set. And I think at that moment I realized this is what I dreamed of my entire life. Like, this is what I wanted to do. And now I'm here. And yeah, it's tiring, it's exhausting, but I put my shoes back on and I showed back up to set. And that's what it takes to be successful. Like, that's what it really takes to be successful in this industry, is you got to have grit, guts, and be willing to kind of go through hell. But those experiences bonded us. Here it is, like I think, 4 years later, or 4 years later, whatever. I'm still in contact with a lot of the filmmakers from that specific film. And when you want something bad enough, you're willing to take the hits. And that was my wake-up call. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm in it now. I'm in it. And no matter how hard it gets, I realized no matter how bad it was still better than my best day doing something that I hated. And so I still tell people that on set, like when they're whining or whatever, it's like, they're like, man, today's a rough day. I said, nah, man, this is one of the best days because I worked for 20 years doing something I hated, grinding. This I love, so the grind doesn't affect me like that. So if you have heart, if you have passion, and you have the mindset that you want to get onto projects, it's there, it's available. It's not going to be easy. None of it's predictable. And you never know when your next job's going to come. Even right now, like, I don't know when my next job's going to come, but plan B was to drive. And that's why I Doordash and do other things and edit and do other projects that kind of generate revenue, including YouTube someday. But that's kind of my story. And that's why I really want to, on this channel, at some point, start to take you onto these projects. So I have a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I will be sharing and telling stories. I think my channel, what I really want to do is I want to share the inside behind the scenes moments and then the learning moments. learned to pull focus and what I've done, and how I started shooting behind the scenes on sets while I was actually pulling focus, and then I'll cut, and then I'm like taking photos and being able to do multiple things to take you on the journey for me to film my first short films, which I have 3 potential ones that I'm writing right now that I want to shoot this year. So my transition from like another career to a Doordasher to a PA to making my own films, because now I have the equipment to do it. Now I have a Blackmagic 6K Pro. I have a Canon R5. I have lights. I have gimbals. I have a lot of stuff, you know, sound equipment, lav mics to record. I have so many pieces to the puzzle now that I could shoot my own projects. And so that's what I want to share with you, like that arc of what I went through, what it took to get into this industry, and just really what I've learned along the way. And by no means am I there. Like, I haven't worked on some big ass blockbuster project. I'm not there. I'm an indie filmmaker, but I'm a filmmaker. Yeah, for the first time I've acknowledged that I'm a filmmaker now, and I want to share my journey. So that's it. So you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe. And then as things progress, I'll start to share more and more stories and get you guys on some of this live stream. And if you're watching this on the replay, I appreciate you guys. Let's do it, man. Let's go after it. 2025, gonna share some crazy stories over the last couple years. All right, guys, I got to get out of here if I know how to end this thing, which I haven't done live streaming in probably like 3 years. So, but we did it today. So I'll talk to you later. I'm out.